Hey team, welcome to another episode of Badass Unscripted. This week I want to mention one of a few people out there whom I admire and want to recommend to you. There's so much great stuff happening in the podcasting space, but not everyone can be like a Tim Ferriss and an entrepreneur on fire. The bulk of the landscape is made up with just regular Joes. Guys like me and this fellow that I want to tell you about today. And you know, they do the bulk of the thinking and creating and writing and publishing out there. And we have to be grateful for the work that they do. Because here's the thing, I think, you know, you always hear me kind of knocking traditional learning. I'm really more knocking the certification business, not the certification itself. There's a time and place for deep learning and apprenticeship, right? The practical training that you have to go through to get good at your craft. But today our attentions have been pulled in so many different directions and expectations are so high that I think there's a twofold benefit in shorter bite-sized pieces of content, such as you would find on podcasts. The first one is that you can learn in small increments. So if you can't find the time to commit 6 hours or 6 weeks to an in-depth study, you can at least start your learning and inquiry process with stuff you can listen to on your commute to work, and I think that's perfect. And if you keep the habit up over the course of a year or 2 years, you'll have basically acquired the equivalent of a college course or a university course in whatever it is you're trying to get better at. But the other thing that's super important that traditional course doesn't offer is continuous inspiration and guidance. So I've noticed in my work that if I train a team on Agile, if I give them some fundamentals for a day or two, but they don't go back to the job and use it right away, they lose 90% of what I taught. It's simply not relatable, so it vanishes. But when you surround yourself with inspiration constantly, not only are you reminded of the core concepts over time, but they also keep you on the straight and narrow. We have so many things competing for our time and attention that it's hard to remember what's important. So by continuously repeating and broadcasting small bite-sized messages, that helps keep us centered in our minds and in our practice. So I want to celebrate a podcast called Agile Chuckwagon. And I stumbled across it just because I was doing some searches for the best Agile podcasts, and Chuck's podcast came up. So Chuck Durfee, the guy who runs it, I think what caught me about this podcast is that Chuck's got one of those unassuming voices. He doesn't sound like he's, preaching. He doesn't sound like he knows it all. He sounds like he's on a path, like the rest of us. So really, when you listen to him, his voice to me is really engaging and inspiring because, like mine, it's a solo voice, first of all. He rarely does interviews. So you're basically hearing his wisdom kind of brain dumped. And my understanding is he does it largely on the fly with little rehearsal or scripting. So it's a miracle that this guy manages to put out as much content as he does. And it's really valuable content too. Because here's my take. At the beginning of my podcast, I say there's so many resources about what you need to do to be agile, but I focus on who you need to become. And that's not to slag the people who focus on what you need to do. I'm just saying that there are other people who do it so much better than I do that I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to work on the other side of stuff. So Chuck is one of those people who brings you the details. He's got episodes, he's a guy, he's in the field, he's a manager. He's working this stuff and living it every single day. So he teaches leadership skills, everything from difficult conversations to how to engage with upper leadership and different methods and techniques of, being social and marketing what you do. Using his podcast as an example, I think was a recent episode. But every once in a while, he gets gritty and talks about, design patterns or coding patterns, which I think is brilliant. I think that someone needs to walk us through the how-tos, the detailed, in-depth instructions, because our universe is always evolving. So what you learned even in a deep dive college course 3 months ago is no longer the full story. So someone needs to keep us current. And it's guys like Chuck Durfee who are doing that for us. So first of all, kudos and many thanks to Chuck. Keep on doing what you do, brother. I hope I have a chance to do some work with you in the future. And I'm hoping to have a chance to meet you in person soon as well. So please, guys, go to agilechuckwagon.com. Check out his vast catalog. I think he's now in season 6. So check out the inventory of back episodes. I know you'll find something that inspires and interests you, but what I actually recommend is that you subscribe And just listen to all of the podcasts from start to finish or from finish to start, whatever suits you. Because it's the continuous habit of always taking 10 or 20 minute increments of learning that actually make you better. So dig into the back catalog. I know you'll enjoy it. That's agilechuckwagon.com. You can also look at his Patreon page, which you'll find the links to on his website, should you choose to support him. And remember, it's that kind of financial support that keeps our craft alive, because podcasters generally don't get paid for what they do. They're doing it because they want to serve. They want to take the knowledge and share it and spread it. Build the audience, build the army of Agilists. So get in there and show your support, show your love to my man, Chuck. And Chuck, thanks for what you do, brother. Guys, don't forget you can reach me at badassagile.com or on Twitter at badass_agile and on Instagram at badassagile. I'll see you next time.